Welcome back, dear students. Today we are going to do part 2 of the story We Are Not Afraid to Die If We Can All Be Together. But before we proceed further, let's have a quick recap of part 1. Students, in part 1 of the story, I told you the narrator of this account, Gordon Cook, along with his wife Mary and two children, set sail from Plymouth, England to complete round the world voyage. Their boat Wave Walker was professionally built. The first phase of their journey passed off pleasantly. Then, on reaching Cape Town, they took two more crew members with them. One was an American, Larry Vigil, and another was a Swedish man, Hub Ziegler. They were very cheerful. They celebrated Christmas on board and then the New Year. But after coming out of Cape Town, the weather became stormy. Strong windstorms started blowing. The size of the waves was alarming. But the narrator, he kept his calm and they took certain precautions. To slow down the speed of the boat, they dropped the storm jib, they double lashed everything, and they also practiced their life raft drill and put on their life jackets. On January 2, their boat was hit by a very strong wave and it was shattered. It was damaged badly on the right side. The narrator also got injured. His head hit against the steering wheel, his ribs had broken, his mouth was filled with broken teeth and blood. But still, in this situation, he did not give up. He continued to steer the wheel and hung on. Till here we did in the first video. Now I will teach you further. Water, water everywhere. Students, this line reminds me of the poem The Rime of the Ancient Mariner by Coleridge, S.T. Coleridge. The same line is used in the poem Water, water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. Here the narrator says there was water all around since they were in the ocean, but there was also water entering the ship because of the effect of the storm, and the boat was damaged. I could feel that the ship had water below, but I dared not abandon the wheel to investigate. The narrator was aware that the ship was damaged, there was water entering the ship below, but he did not have the courage to leave the steering and go and assess the situation, investigate the situation. Suddenly, the front hatch was thrown open and Mary appeared. Suddenly, the front hatch. Now, what is hatch? It is a small door or opening on the deck. That door opened and his wife Mary appeared. We are sinking, she screamed. The decks are smashed. We are full of water. She was in a panic state. She came and announced that the ship is sinking. The decks are damaged and the ship is full of water. Take the wheel, I shouted as I scrambled for the hatch. The narrator instructed his wife to take the steering wheel to steer the vessel or the ship, and he himself walked with great difficulty, scrambled meaning to crawl and walk with great difficulty in water, and he reached for the hatch door. Larry and Herb were pumping like madmen. Broken timbers hung at crazy angles. The whole starboard side bulged inwards. Clothes, crockery, charts, tins, and toys sloshed about in deep water. Larry and Herb, the other two captains, they were busy pumping water or draining out water from the ship, and they were so involved in their work. They were working so hard. They were working like madmen. Broken timbers hung at crazy angles. Broken timbers meaning planks of wood because the ship was broken. They were hanging at different angles. The whole starboard side bulged inwards. Starboard side is the right side of the ship where the wave had struck. So it bulged inwards. Their clothes, all their belongings, crockery, charts, food tins, and toys of the children sloshed about in deep water. Sloshed about meaning were floating in the water and they were striking against each other and making noise. I half swam, half crawled into the children's cabin. Are you all right? I asked. But in this situation, the narrator got worried about his children's safety. So, first he went into the children's cabin. With great difficulty, he swam in the water, he crawled, and then he reached the cabin and he inquired, are you all right? He asked the children, are you fine? Are you all right? Yes, they answered from an upper bunk. The children said they were fine. They were sitting on an upper berth. But my head hurts a bit, said Sue, pointing to a big bump above her eyes. But his daughter Sue said that her head was hurting or there was pain in her head, and she pointed towards a big swelling that was above her eyes. I had no time to worry about bumped heads. Now, why does the narrator say so that he did not have time? The narrator thought that it might be a minor injury, it might be a small injury, so he did not pay much attention to it because his mind is preoccupied with other things. He was thinking about the condition of the ship. The ship was full of water and it might capsize any time. So he had to take some action, he had to do something, he had to do some repair work to control the situation. That is why he did not pay heed to the words of the little girl. After finding a hammer, screws, and canvas, I struggled back on deck. He found his tools like hammer, screws, and he took some canvas. Canvas is a waterproof cloth. He, with great difficulty, again he went back on the deck. With the starboard side bashed open, we were taking water with each wave that broke over us. Since the starboard side, I already told you the right side of the ship was broken, ship was taking more and more water with each wave that was hitting the ship. If I couldn't make some repairs, we would surely sink. And the narrator knew that if he did not take some measures, if he did not do some repair work, the ship would definitely capsize or sink. Somehow I managed to stretch canvas and secure waterproof hedge covers across the gaping holes. With difficulty, he stretched canvas and waterproof covers across the open holes. Some water continued to stream below, but most of it was now being deflected over the side. He was a little successful in his attempt. Some of the water was now streamed below, but most of the water was now diverted. More problems arose when our hand pumps started to block up with the debris floating around the cables and the electric pump short circuited. There was no end to their problems. More and more problems were coming up. Now, next, what happened? The hand pumps started to block up with the debris. Debris are the things that are floating on the water, they're things that were floating, and due to all these things, what happened? Their hand pumps got clogged up, they got blocked, and they had stopped working, and the electric pump also had a short circuit. Now they could not drain out water from the ship. The water level rose threateningly. The water level was rising menacingly on the ship. Back on deck, I found that our two spare hand pumps had been wrenched overboard, along with the forestay sail, the jib, the dinghies, and the main anchor. He came back on the deck to find out the spare things that they were carrying with them, like the spare hand pumps, but they had been drenched overboard, meaning they had been thrown off board or off into the ocean along with their forestay sail, that is the front sail, the storm jibs. The dinghies are boats which are used in emergency situation. So all the additional things that they were carrying with them due to the storm and due to the damage, these things had fallen into the ocean. Then I remembered we had another electric pump under the chat room floor. I connected it to an out pipe and was thankful to find that it worked. Then in this situation also, He is maintaining his presence of mind. Suddenly he recalled they had a spare electric pump under the chart room floor. Now, chart room is that small cabin in which their charts and other instruments are kept, which help them in finding directions and in navigation. So he went to the chart room, and there he found that electric pump. He connected it to an outpipe, and he was happy that it had started working. The night dragged on with an endless, bitterly cold routine of pumping, steering, and working the radio. That was a really long night. It passed off very slowly, dragged on with an endless routine. They were all busy in doing what? In pumping the water, in steering the ship, and also trying to get some help by sending the radio signals. We were getting no replies to our Mayday calls, which was not surprising in this remote corner of the world. They were trying to seek some help by sending radio signals. Mayday calls are calls sent in emergency situation by sending signals on the radio, but they did not get any reply to those Mayday calls. Why? Because they were sailing in a very remote corner of the world. They were sailing in a very alien and remote part of the world. Sue's head had swollen alarmingly. She had two enormous black eyes, and now she showed us a deep cut on her arm. Sue's head, where she had got hurt, now swelling was increasing alarmingly. She had two big black eyes. Due to the swelling, the eyes had become black, and now she showed there was a deep cut on the arm as well. When I asked why she hadn't made more of her injuries before this, she replied, I didn't want to worry you when you were trying to save us all. The narrator said to the girl, why did you not tell me about your injuries before? And see the reply of the young girl. She is so brave, she is so courageous and mature. Although she is just 7 years old, she is so mature in her thinking. She said that she did not want to bother her father when he was so busy trying to save their lives. She knew the seriousness of the situation and she knew her father was busy saving their lives, so she did not disclose her injuries and she kept on bearing the pain herself. By morning on January 3, the pumps had the water level sufficiently under control for us to take 2 hours rest in rotation. Now they had been working whole night and by the morning of January 3, the water level on the ship was now under control and the situation was also slightly better. So because they had been working all day and night, they decided they were all tired, they were all exhausted. They decided that they should take some rest. So they decided to take 2 hours rest in rotation, one after the other. But we still had a tremendous leak somewhere below the waterline. And on checking, I found that nearly all the boat's main rib frames were smashed down to the keel. But there was still water entering, and then when the narrator checked it, he found that nearly all the boat's main rib frames, the main structure, they were damaged down to the keel. Now, keel is the basic structure, that basic long wood structure on which the entire structure is created. So, it was so badly damaged down till the keel. In fact, there was nothing holding up a whole section of the starboard hull except a few cupboard partitions. And when he investigated, he found that there was nothing supporting one whole section of the right side of the ship except a few cupboard partitions. It was so badly shattered and damaged. We had survived for 15 hours since the wave hit, but Wave Walker wouldn't hold together long enough for us to reach Australia. Now, after the wave or the storm had hit, after that they had survived for 15 hours. But they knew that the condition of their ship was not very good. The ship was not strong enough for them to sail till Australia. I checked our charts and calculated that there were two small islands a few hundred kilometers to the east. The narrator calculated the charts, he calculated his position, and he tried to find some places where they could take shelter, and he found that there were two small islands which were at a distance of few hundred kilometers towards the east. One of them, Isle Amsterdam, was a French scientific base. One of the islands, the name is Isle Amsterdam. It was a French scientific base. It was a small island used for scientific research by France. Our only hope was to reach these pinpricks in the vast ocean. Now, the condition of the ship was not good. They would not be able to reach Australia. Their only hope was to reach these pinpricks. Now, pinpricks are very, very small pieces of land in the vast ocean. But unless the wind and seas abated so we could hoist sail, our chances would be slim indeed. But that too was possible if the weather slightly improved, if the wind and the size of the waves became less, and they would be able to hoist their mainsail. Otherwise, their chances for reaching these islands also were really slim or bleak or very less. The great wave had put our auxiliary engine out of action. Due to the effect of the great wave, the additional engine was also out of action. It was also not working. On January 4, after 36 hours of continuous pumping, we reached the last few centimeters of water. On the morning of January 4, after continuously draining out water for 36 hours, they could control the level of water. Now only a few centimeters of water was left on the ship. Now we had only to keep pace with the water still coming in. But the still more and more water was coming in, so they had to keep pace with that and they had to drain out that water. We could not set any sail on the main mast. Still, they could not use their sail on the main mast. Why? Pressure on the rigging would simply pull the damaged section of the hull apart. Narrator knew pressure on the rigging. Rigging, children, is that system of ropes and chains with which that mast is tied. So pressure on that would simply pull apart or break the damaged section of the hull. So we hoisted the storm jib and headed for where I thought the two islands were. So they are still sailing with the storm jib, the small sail that is used during a storm, and they continued to move where they thought they might find the two small islands. Mary found some corned beef and cracker biscuits, and we ate our first meal in almost 2 days. Narrator's wife, she brought some tinned food and some biscuits, and he says they ate their first meal after 2 days. Since the boat was struck by the storm, they were so preoccupied saving their lives and controlling the situation, they had not eaten for 2 days, and now they had a meager meal. I hope children it is clear. Now we will continue in the next video. Thank you.